Welcome back to Connect Conversations, styled by Hidden Hideout. Today, I'm delighted on by Scottish pro wrestler Joe Coffey. How are we, mate?
Very well, mate.
It's
very
good.
well. Thank you very much for the coffee. I
No,
appreciate it.
no, you're very welcome. Obviously, thank you for taking the time to come on. Also, a big obviously shout out to Harry for connecting us as well. We love Harry boy, but yeah. So let's get right into it. So obviously your origins, Scotland. What was it like growing up in Scotland? What started you getting into wrestling? What age?
I mean, growing up in Scotland, mate, it's just the standard that everyone kind of has, and very heavily sport based as well. Like I played rugby, played football, obviously do a bit of boxing and stuff. And I never thought there was that outlet for pro wrestling. And it was the first thing I remember seeing as a kid. My cousin had a VHS, and I remember going to his. I was watching it. I was like, "What is this?" And he had the action figures, the old Hasbro figures, and I was just like, "This is amazing." It's just like colour, you know. And I was like, "I need to do this." So I think the seed was planted early doors that that's what I wanted to do with my life. But as I said, I didn't feel as if there was anywhere that you could do that in Scotland. Like WWE or WWF at the time, and there was another company, WCW, would seldomly come to the UK. Like it'd be maybe once every year or every 2 years. So I was like, there's not really a way of doing this. And they used to have like in the theatres, like the Kings and the Pavilion, like tribute shows where it'd be like fake Undertaker and
I remember it well, to be fair. Aye.
I was like, well, there must be surely somewhere. Like as I get older, I remember I was in a university lecture, and I was just looking about, and I was like, I think it was a law lecture, and there must have been 300 people in this lecture, and I was like, how many people are getting jobs out of here? And I was like, nah. I just started thinking about other stuff. And then like my best mate, Steve, who wrestled as Jackie Polo, he'd found a training school in Linwood of all places, and I was like, no way, mate, like 20 minutes from where we stay there's a training school. And he was like, aye, I'm going to do it. And I was like, we had a competitive like friendship, and I was like, well, I have to do it now, I have to do it. And I was playing rugby at the time at quite high level. It was like top level club rugby. The next stage would be pro rugby. I remember calling my coach up, and I was actually in David Lloyd doing a PT course at the time. In this very room.
Aye.
And I called my coach up because one of the trainers from the wrestling school had said that Finn Balor, who's really big in WWE, wrestled as Fergal Devitt, and another wrestler, Johnny Moss, who's a coach at NXT, or ended up becoming a coach, were doing a training seminar. And I was like, that was the moment I went, I'm going all in this. And I remember calling my coach up. I was waiting to do my practical in the gym, and I went, hi, how you doing? He was like, oh, hi Joe, how you doing? I went, look, just to let you know, I'm not going to be there on Saturday for the game. He was like, is everything okay? And I was like, I'm not enjoying it just now. I'm sitting on the bench a lot. I don't feel as if I should be sitting on the bench. Like I want to progress, but I've also got an opportunity to become a professional wrestler. And there was just silence, and then he just started laughing. He went, all right, well, good luck with that. And I was like, thanks very much, mate. And then just clicked it, and that was it. Like full in from there on in.
And obviously somebody kind of laughing. Now, obviously it meant it in good terms, but I can imagine you've had that a lot. Maybe when you were younger, if you've mentioned it to someone, you know, that's what you want to do. Some people maybe having a wee bit of a laugh about it and going, all right, aye, very good.
Yeah, I think there's that stigma attached to it sometimes. And like even nowadays, like you see like on, like even some of the WWE guys, like when you see in interviews, like reporters and like journalists try to like, and it's like, why are you acting like that? Because it's the same as going to a film and watching the stunts and watching the storyline. Like everyone knows it's the outcome. Like but it's what goes into it. Like there's so much that goes into what you see on television. So like it's good sometimes to show that and then say, look, there's actually a lot more that goes into this than what you think.
Yeah, and you'd also mentioned obviously at uni. What was it you done at uni?
I was doing English journalism and law.
Right, and it's obviously wrestling, English journalism and law, very much different. You said you obviously sat in that lecture looking around. What was the real moment for you when you just decided like, this is not me, like this just doesn't feel right?
I just couldn't envision myself sitting in an office for the rest of my life, if I'm being honest. I like to do things, I like to travel, I like to, you know, do different things, and I was like, my heart wasn't in it, you know what I mean? I think that's a good lesson for people. If your heart's not truly in something, then find what you're passionate about. And I was passionate about that, so it was probably in that lecture. I remember sitting with my mate Glancy. We weren't really doing the lecture, we were playing Football Manager at the time. I just went,
classic.
And he felt the same as well. He ended up going and doing something totally different. I was just like, I don't think this is for me. Like, it felt like school again. Like, I was expecting like some life-changing thing at university, like, because everyone talks about, freedom and all that. It was just school again. It was just standardised education where you're reading from a book and try to regurgitate what you're doing. So I just was like, nah, I think we'll draw a line under this and
feel like education's a lot like that, isn't it? Like, I was growing up, I didn't hate school because I loved kind of being around people and seeing your mates every day. Like, there's something brilliant about that you don't appreciate until you get a bit older and you go, that was unreal. But I just didn't enjoy school. Like, see that, study, do that exam, and you just done that on repeat. That's why when I took a gap year after school, and I took a couple of years, and I did a couple of years, at sports therapy, it was the same. I just couldn't do it. And then they were like, do you want to do physio? And I'm like, I've done 4 years of this study and do that. I was like, God, it's like, I need to be practical. No, that's why I was a personal training swim teacher. I love the practicality of a job and doing it rather than just, as you said, like sitting in an office and it's not for me. And listen, that's not me down and that it does do it.
No, not at all.
But like, if that's what you're thinking, you're really good at it, like, honestly, knock yourself out is amazing. But as I said, for us, it's not for me personally, and obviously wasn't for yourself. In terms of when you obviously went to training in Linwood, was there a moment when it was at Linwood, or was it another moment that made you realise you could really make something out of the wrestling?
I think it was that training weekend that I said that Finn Balor and Johnny Moss came to. When I was there, I was like, I mean, these guys were in great shape, and the guys who were at the training centre necessarily they're not looking to do this for the rest of their lives. Like, it becomes more of a social aspect and like maybe just like a local independent circuit that they're happy with, and that's fine. But for me, I had bigger aspirations, and talking to them and learning from them, I was like, if they can do it, not that I was comparing myself, but I was like, if there is a market for that, then that's what I want to do. And I always say that, like, any interview that I've done, that was the moment that changed for me. Like, I was like, I can do this as a career. And from then on in, just kind of put everything into it.
Yeah, and you spoke about being young, growing up, obviously the VHS tape. Who was the...
Maybe that's showing how old I am.
I was going to say, as you've revealed a bit, in terms of your role models, obviously, you know, myself, like, I was a big Undertaker fan. Like, I loved Undertaker growing up. Like, when I watched it, it was just, I don't know what it was, I loved him. Who were your role models? Was it in WWE or was it elsewhere?
Out with, like, you've got your wrestling heroes, like Shawn Michaels was my guy, which was amazing that we got to work with him in NXT for a long time and a good relationship with him. Love Bret Hart as well. And then, like, when the Attitude Era came in, like Stone Cold and the Rock as well, which we had the chance to train as well, which was really cool. But in real life, like, my mum and dad are my role models, 100%. Like, my old man is, I think he's 69, runs a still plumbing and heating business, still crawling under floorboards every day. He loves it, man. Like, and that's probably where I get it from. I get the work ethic from. He can't sit still, you know what I mean? He's always looking to do something. And my mum takes care of, like, the admin side of them. So, you know, and like, even in recent times, like, she's went through cancer, chemo, life-changing operation this year, and I look at that and I go, well, do you know what, like, recently it's not been a great situation, but just taking strength from that. And so I would say my mum and dad are, like, that's where I get my work ethic from, that's where I get, you know, just the ability to get up and go. They're probably my role models. Yeah.
And in terms of your mum and dad, what did they make about your career aspirations?
I think they knew it was coming. Like, from the amount of walls and beds that me and my brother broke from like, I remember picking my brother up my mum's bed and giving him a razor's edge and bed collapses and that. I think they knew it was coming for a long time, but I think they're just happy that, you know, we were passionate about something and we had direction and wanted to give it a go. You know, I think they're happy as long as we're happy. So.
You said you used to do all the kind of moves.
Oh, 100%, man. Like, it's just So many. I remember like we were dead young and we were down in Millport. We were down a holiday in Millport, and me and my brother had these lime green cycling shorts. Probably looked horrendous, man, but we thought, well, the shit with it. And we thought we were the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, and we're like tussling about. And he hit his head off a coffee table and just split his head wide open. So they knew it was coming from the early days. Yeah. But
it's nice though that your parents or whoever supports you. You know, the people around you really support your aspirations. You know, because I've said this on multiple episodes, but there's never nobody's dream should be overlooked, or nobody should be like made a mockery because they've got a certain dream or aspiration. Like everybody's got their own dreams and aspirations. Somebody wants to be an astronaut, like why could they not be an astronaut? Do you know what I mean? Like that might not happen, but why do they not? What's wrong about dreaming about that kind of thing? Do you know what I mean? It's the same with yourself.
I think as well, see, being from the west coast of Scotland and in Scotland in general, we have this like, I feel as if Scotland sometimes has this like inferiority complex. You can't go do what you want. You can't be this. But I think in recent times you look at areas like film, TV, comedy, music, whatever. There's so many people from Scotland that are out there doing their thing. And I just don't want to subscribe to that like inferiority complex. Like it's like, nah, you've got one life. Just go do what you can do and give it your best shot.
No, 100%. And like in terms of growing up in Glasgow, and you know, I said this previous episodes as well, in terms of people pushing people down that want to, you know, put their head above the water, if you like. It's like, nah, you're from Glasgow, like, come on, back down.
I feel that as well. I think people want to see you do well, but not too well.
Aye,
you know what I mean?
That's a really good way to put it.
Even some mates, I feel like, are like that, and they're supposed to be your mates. Like, they'll support you, but like, even like, I feel as if a mate supports you when you're doing well and when you're doing bad. Like, when you start to do well, I noticed when I was in America, like, I'm not going to name names, but like, I would see like a drop off of people like talking to me, and I'm quite like, I like to be in contact with, like, I've got a close knit group of people. I like being in contact with them all the time, and like, I can't be in Glasgow, so the best I can do is FaceTime or that. And I noticed like a little kind of drop off, and it was like, maybe you're just out of sight, out of mind. You know, it's a strange way of looking at things.
Yeah, it is, and it kind of shows you who's there for you and who's not. As you said very, you know, rightly, your friend isn't just for when things are going well and people don't praise you. It's also when the other side, when you've actually not been as active on socials or whatever, just going like, is everything all good? Like, you've actually not been as active as usual. And I think it's important people recognise that. You know, don't just because somebody's doing well, why would you be like, well, they're doing well, just leave them be. Like, you should be like, oh, well done. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't get a reply. You don't do it to be like, oh, look at me, I messaged so and so. It's like, just support somebody. It's not a big deal. And it's actually something Big Joe, who PT'd in here, he's really good at it, and he's like, honestly, I've never seen somebody support so many people. Like, I'm talking like barbers, you know, like people he's never met. He'll share the stuff on socials. He's just like supporting everybody. It's such a good, a good way to be, and it's kind of the way I like to be as well. Supporting as many people as I can. There's nothing wrong with it. In terms of coming back to the wrestling, you know, the Scottish and UK indie gig, that must have been a bit of a mental. How did that transfer from that kind of training weekend to then actually wrestling?
Well, it's just like, you've got like, when you go to training school, you'll have like a trainer, head trainer, and it's like kind of up to them to like realise when you're ready. You're never really ready, but you know, you have to get out there. And it was just from the training and stuff like that, it was just like basically try to pick up bookings and get your name out then and stuff, and that's what you have to do, is go out and build your brand essentially. Way different now to when I started. Like, social media wasn't as prevalent. Like, I think we're talking Bebo days, you know what I mean? The start of Facebook.
Send love.
Yeah. You had your top 5 friends and your video and your page. I think Bebo, it was Bebo when I started wrestling, and you know, Facebook was just kind of starting. Didn't have MySpace for that, and it was just basically getting out there and stuff and building your brand. And I had aspirations at the time to go to Japan, which I ended up doing, and it was just try to get out there, connect with people, you know, put in good work and just build a reputation for what you're about and what you can present in the ring.
Yeah, and obviously in terms of starting out, and obviously do you remember your first kind of?
Oh, I remember my first match. It was terrible, man. It was kind
of. Where was it?
Kind of two. I remember the first one wasn't too bad, but because it was like a big Royal Rumble type thing, like a battle royal. which is good for like someone starting out because they can get in and they can do a little bit. They don't need to do too much, don't need to remember too much. And it was in Bellahouston Sports Centre. I remember me and that lad Jackie Polo, my mate Steve, like we rocked up in suits thinking like, oh, we'll take it professionally and we're thinking WWE here. But I think that stands you in good stead. Like people are just like, I was going, what are these guys all about? But that was good. And then the second match was in some like wee community centre over in Paisley, and I was shocking, man. I just deer in headlights from the moment my head was gone because I was tagging with my mate at the time, and I went to like jump over the ropes, like kind of spring in over the ropes on the entrance, got my foot stuck in the rope, my face planted, and I just looked up and I went, no, my head was gone, mate, gone, and it was just terrible. There was a picture, I remember there was a picture, it was on Bevo years ago, I was doing like a backdrop to someone, and I've got no recollection of doing that because I was just like gone, the head was gone. So, and there's no worse feeling than being in front of people. It doesn't matter, like there was maybe like 40 people there, but being 40 people or 14,000 people, there's no worse feeling than going, I do not know what I'm doing here. So it was a scary experience.
Yeah, it was a real powerful start, if you like. What kept you going then? Because obviously that could, a lot of people that would maybe deter them, maybe throw them off, making mistakes like that, and you know, what kept you going after
Well,
that?
I think like anything in life, you know, you make a mistake, what are you going to do? Like, what's your reaction going to be? You're just going to crawl away and like hide away, or are you going to do something about it? So I just went, well, I'm not doing that again in the entrance. So I was like, that's not going to work. Can't hit that every time. But it's just like making sure that you fix, you know, either bad habits or something that you can work on, and it's a kind of like life lesson, if you will, that you just need to keep going and don't let anything deter you from what your goal is. And from that moment on, I was just like, this is what I want to do. I want to keep the ball rolling. And at the time, you know, what age was I? 21 when I first started, which is actually probably I think it's a bit later than people later starting now at age 13, 14. Part of me wishes I had started younger, but also part of me didn't. I was like, well, that's just the journey. That's my story, and just wanted to keep going from that moment on, and just get, like, I wanted to start off Scotland, get as many bookings as I could as well, and then branch out UK, Ireland, Europe, eventually get to Japan, and then, you know, America from there on. So it wasn't like I didn't have a blueprint. It was just like I had a vision that I wanted to do.
Yeah, and the smaller promotions, in terms of like ICW, SWA, how did you feel? Did they help you massively then in building not only your name but also, you know, probably fans as well, people that, you know, follow you and support you?
Yeah, like SWA was like, they would run like a few venues and stuff, and it was good to get like the reps in and, you know, get working on what your craft is. As in terms of ICW, like ICW ended up being from a small room in a community centre in Maryhill to doing the Hydro 3 times. Like, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in independent professional wrestling. But we had this core group of people, this roster that all wanted to do something, and we all did, like, for ICW, but there's a lot of that roster, there's probably about 20 of that roster who are dotted about all over the world, who've worked for WWE, who've worked for companies in Japan or AEW or whatever. And we just thought, we've got something special here. And it got to the point where ICW ended up touring, like, and we were doing like shows like all over like the O2 like buildings in the UK. Had a tour bus and all that. Like, it was the bollocks, mate. Like, it was amazing.
It was like
proper,
yep.
And it was like like we all had the best time of our life. Like, it was just hysterical from the moment, you know, you left Glasgow, you're on a tour bus, and then like, you got like Newcastle, Liverpool, you know, like at London. You're like, this is quality.
This
man.
is the bollocks, if you like.
And like, you don't even get that in WWE. Like, nowadays, like, the top stars have like their own tour bus, but it's not like they've got like 20 lads.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Just became a stag do every weekend, really, with a bit of wrestling.
I was actually going to say it. Again, it almost sounds like a stag do.
But it was good. Like, even though like at that time we did party hard, but we worked hard as well and gave people their money's worth to the show. And like, there was a couple of times like we would do tours that built up to the SECC when we done that, which was huge for me because I'd seen WWF at the time in that arena, I'd be like the Iron Brew Carnival, you know what I mean? Like just buildings that's nostalgic with Glasgow, and it's like, I want to do that one day. And I remember there's a photo of me, my brother, my mate Steve, and my mate Sweeney, and we've got a photo outside the SECC, because we all grew up in Glasgow, all loved the SECC. And then the Hydro get built, and we're like, they had aspirations to do the Hydro. And then like the first Hydro I done, I was against Kurt Angle, who is a WWE Hall of Famer, an Olympic gold medalist, multiple champion, you know, and it was just like, to see how far that company had come, and even my personal growth, I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this, you know, it was crazy.
Surreal.
It was surreal, it was good though.
Looking back on it, how did it make you feel, obviously, because that was a massive leap, you know, going from that guy that fell over the rope, splashed his face, to then facing Kurt Angle.
It was cool. Like, I'd been on a couple of shows down south with him before, and he'd come up to me. He was like, "I heard we're wrestling in Scotland," and he was like, "I've heard a lot of good things about you." And I was like, yeah, well, I'm sure it'll be good, you know." But it was just a nice feeling as well to be, because it was the main event of that show at the Hydro, to have that like responsibility and trust from the promoter, Mark Dallas. Again, he's a guy that I look at as well and going, he wasn't settling for his life. He was like, nah, I'm going out and doing this. So like, if you've got someone who's essentially the boss that's like that, it kind of translates down to the rest of the roster. And then just being in with Kurt, he's just a professional, you know what I mean? Like, and I didn't really have to think about the match too much, because I've watched him for years and years, so I knew most of what he's going to do here, what he's going to do there, and just try to put on a good show. And he is a little bit older at the time, so I wanted to take care of him as well. I think and that's the thing about being a professional wrestler, we aren't looking to kill each other. Like, you have to take care of your opponent, and you expect the same back. And I just wanted to take care of him that night and make sure he didn't get hurt, he had a good night, and you know, it went smoothly.
Yeah, I think that line between protecting someone and not hurting them, because I think maybe some people get mixed up. Obviously, we do boxing with Harry, we don't play and then there's other fights like MMA. We are actually physically going out to hurt somebody. What's the main differences you think then between wrestling and sports like boxing and MMA?
So with pro wrestling, there is contact. Like, I don't mind a bit of contact. It's like working snug. Like, you feel it, but it's not going to absolutely destroy you, which there has been a couple of times in my career. There was one time at NXT, there was someone who was fairly green and new to it and didn't come from a pro wrestling background, which we will get onto. Gave me a forearm, and I was like, oh, wow. And so I gave him one back, like it was a little kind of trade-off on the TV episode, and he gave me one back, and it hit my temple, and it was just whoosh, and I was like, right, that's it. And I just grabbed him and pulled him down and went, stop that. Like, it becomes, because you're giving your body, like, for example, we've done both sessions with Harry, like, if somebody's flinging a cross or a jab or whatever, you know, you're taught to like guard. Yep. You're giving your body, so you're a little bit open, so that when you think you can react to it and sell. So I'm literally just giving my face. So the difference is, like, you're just trying to work with someone and even judge. Like, I actually don't like to hit someone that hard. Like, that's why I done boxing for, I don't know how long I've been boxing, like 8 years or something, and it's to judge the distance so that it looks like you're connecting, but you're not actually touching them. Like, you could just go like that. So the difference is, that's kind of like the subtle differences. Like, please don't hurt me too much. You know what I mean? I'm no stranger to getting hurt. Like, I've got a fairly decent pain threshold, but you don't want to be rocked, because then, like, for example, a TV episode in NXT, you need a maths degree. Like, you've got like 5 minutes up front, you've got a 3.5 minute break, and you've got a 5 minute on the back end. But there's so much that goes into that. I need to stay focused and remember what the cues are, because I don't want to be rocked, otherwise it's going rubbish. So
what do you think the main things that people get wrong about wrestling? Because, you know, you hear a lot of it, and it's, people go, oh, it's a lot of nonsense, like it's fake. And don't get me wrong, to an extent, yes, as you said, you kind of play on certain things. You're not out there to hurt somebody, but it's almost as like a show and a fight at the same time. It's the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talk us through that, because obviously, what's the misconceptions with it?
Well, first, like, I think the basic things that people get wrong, actually, as pro wrestlers, is not getting their fundamentals down, like footwork, reactions and things like that. Some of it comes with time, some of it you need to train a bit more with it. Misconceptions about pro wrestling. I think people think it's this, it's just a laugh and a joke and stuff like that. But if it's that much of a laugh and a joke, why is it so popular? Why is it such a worldwide brand? You look at WWE, AEW, there's New Japan in Japan and stuff like that, and even like the independent scene here, like there's still a lot of people coming out. Like it's like theatre at such a, not a basic level, but such a guttural level that people just want to see it and invest in characters and things. Again, like I've always had questions like with, it's fake and stuff like that, and I was like, well, if you're going to a film, you're not going to like, say it's the Avengers film, you're not going to, that's fake, that's fake, you know, like he didn't actually hit him. Well, of course he didn't. Like it's a show at the end of the day. It is like, I don't know, Coronation Street meets Football Factory or something like that. Like there's drama in it, there's characters, there's storyline, but you know, we tell our stories and at basic it's good versus evil. Yeah. You know, and that was like a thing that I remember from NXT with the coaches and the trainers. Like it's always good versus evil. Like there has to be a good guy, there has to be a bad guy, and that's kind of like the basic storyline. But then you look at film and TV, it's the exact same. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's an antagonist and there's a protagonist. Yeah. It's
I really like how you put it, because it's actually funny when you say that and you talk about the Avengers and going like, yeah, that's not real. And I think a lot of people forget that. Yeah. It's like, it's not meant to be like really like look at and go, see, he's not really hit him there. You see that? See, he's not really hit him. It's like, yeah, but it's not the point. It's the show. It's a show. You're putting on a show, but it almost looks exactly like you've done it. Yeah. But you've not actually. Yeah. And then people
like
go,
I always say, like if it's that fake, why do I wake up and it takes me 10 minutes to get out of my bed every morning?
Absolutely, you know?
Like, why are my knees and back so short?
In terms of that early scene before we kind of get into the WWE, what was is there any specific match? You mentioned that Kurt Angle one. Would that be the one you'd say to? You'd say the specific one that was a turning point for you?
Yeah, there was a couple. Like there was a match with Kurt at the Hydro, and then like the year previous, I wrestled Rhino, who wrestled for ECW and WWE. Like that was a big match, and it was a lot of fun. It got a lot of like highlights and the spotlight on me. There was a match with Finn Balor. It was in a smaller show here, but he was a superstar in Japan at the time, but not really too many people knew who he was here. We always knew he was probably going to go to WWE at some point. But just being in with him, like he's so smooth and you know everything's perfect, and it's like that's a standard that you have to hit. Like matches like that are like made me want to be better, and that's the thing. Like I always want to try being with someone who I think's better than me, or I really respect in that, because you can always learn something off. Like you'll never sit in a locker room one day and go, I know, I've got this figured out, I know it all. You know, like there's always something to learn and take something from every single match. You know, it's kind of like that's the difference between what we do and like competitive sports. Like competitive sports is results based. Like it's not results based with wrestling. Like in NXT we lost quite a lot because we were the bad guys, and that was our role, that was our job. But it's what you can take from that. Well, I could have done this better. You know, I could have been a bit more vicious here and stuff. Yeah. It's just taking that and moving on to the next thing and try improve from what you've done in that performance.
It's actually something again Harry's said before. He says if you're not the smartest in the room, or sorry, if you're the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. Yeah. And that's what he said. If you've got it all figured out in that locker room as you're the crown, you're in the wrong locker room. Yeah. And it's that kind of mentality I really like, and it's something that sticks with me. When you're sitting in the room with somebody, you go, yeah, I'm the smartest here, probably. We'll go to a different room then.
Like in NXT, like we were, because they sign a lot of college kids now. They don't sign pro wrestlers. We rarely sign pro wrestlers now. So we were like the older heads in the locker room, but we also had the most experience, like me, my brother, and Wolfie, who was in our group, Gallus. And a lot of people would come up and ask for like advice and stuff, and what can we do better and stuff. But we had, above that, we had like Shawn Michaels, Finlay, Matt Bloom, like all these people who have been there, done it, that we could, you know, talk to and get information and little nuggets of wisdom from. So like, there's never a point where, as you said, like if you think you're the smartest in the room, then probably find another room so that you can go learn.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. In terms of moving on to WWE. How did that all come about then? Was it just as simple as going from one promotion to another? How did they approach you? What was the whole story?
So at the time, like I was independent, like an independent contractor, like an independent wrestler, and still working for companies all over Europe and the UK and stuff, and had been out to Japan for a stint. There was something bubbling in the UK. Like wrestling became so hot independently. Like there was like 4 or 5 companies that drew big houses. ICW being one of them, and I worked for a couple of others. There was a company in London, Progress, a company in Dublin called OTT. So I'd like been about and was on a radar. And it kind of came to a head where WWE probably wanted to cement their flag and go, we need a bit of this. Like we see talent and we see, you know, something there. At the same time, ITV, they seen that as well and wanted to create a show. Like ITV used to have World of Sport Wrestling in like the 70s, the 80s, like with like Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks, you know, Johnny Saint, like all these guys. And they were like, we want a slice of that as well. So it came to the point where we heard that there was like 2 different things about to happen. I remember I was at a show in Paisley at the Lagoon Centre, and I'd kept hearing people going, oh, I've just been contacted. I've been contacted by this. Like, ITV's contacted me. And I was like, I've not heard a single thing here. And I was like, my ego wasn't bruised, but I was like, I'm built a name up here. And I'm like, I wonder what's going on. So eventually ITV contacted me and my brother. They're like, hey, we're putting together this pilot for New Year's Eve. Would you be interested? I was like, yeah. Because WWE hadn't reached out or anything at the time, and didn't hear anything. So I'd signed with ITV, and then literally like the week later, WWE announced they were doing a tournament. And I was like, okay. It's like, I would have done that, you know. I was like, well, it's just not the time just now. And I was a little bit annoyed because I did know some people in WWE, and I thought they would have given me the heads up. But because ITV offered first, and there was nothing else on the table, I was like, well, I'm going to take ITV. And it was a fun experience, don't get me wrong. The end product I wasn't a fan of. It looked like Wheel of Fortune with wrestling. Like it was very much a game show thing, and I was like, this isn't really showcasing what we all can do. Yeah. I was just like, it wasn't that great. But anyway, that was I think that was like 2015 maybe, at the end of the year. And then like full calendar year kind of goes by, and then it's towards... it was like maybe the March, April time, and the same thing happened again. Like ITV were bubbling to do a series from the pilot, and then WWE wanted to run a second like UK tournament to showcase the UK guys. And again, I was sitting at a show and I was like, I've not heard anything. And I was like, what is going on? Like I thought I'd done enough here. Like I've been grafting. Yep. I was like, nothing. And then like I came back from a match and I had 2 different messages, one from the ITV guy, one from the WWE guy, and I was like, well, I'm going to go with WWE. And then it progressed from there, and we signed like a kind of retainer contract, and there was a tournament in the Royal Albert Hall, which was again another, like, the good thing about wrestling is there's so many venues that are iconic that I can like tick off, like done Royal Albert Hall, done the Hydro, SECC, the Barrowlands, which was probably my favourite. Like I fucking grew up at the Barrowlands, you know, like I loved that. But to do the Royal Albert Hall was really cool, and then like that was my first introduction to like Shawn Michaels, and like was speaking to him, and you had to kind of go through your matches with him, and he was like, are you not winning this? And I was like, nah, and he went, you were my pick. And I was like, well, do you want to go tell them? Do you want to go tell the writers that? But that was great, and then that kind of snowballed into like the set. There was like a 2-day event there. They had the tournament, and then they had like a episode of like, I don't know, it was just a special, but they announced that NXT UK was going to be a derivative from this. Yep. And then we all signed with NXT UK, which was good. That lasted up until 2023, and it was some of the best times. Like it was great, especially like COVID time. Yep. I loved the COVID time personally. Like it was a crap time for the world, but we were fortunate enough to still be working because they still needed to produce TV content. They had contracts with BT Sports, and we'd go down to London. They'd put us up in like everyone would get their own apartment in Canary Wharf, and you do 2 weeks of training, you do the TV, like 6 weeks worth of TV tapings, then you go back up the road for 5 weeks, back down to London. It was like the best offshore job without going offshore. And you're with your mates, and we just treated it like a stag do. And then,
sounds like you've just done a lot of stag
yeah, it was just like, we just got like a beer, you know what I mean? I go to the pub, so we just do that, and then, but we'd still be working our balls off, you know what I mean? Just grafting and training, and I really felt sharp when I was there, like, because it was just intensive for 2 weeks, and then with signing with WWE, because we weren't like full time at that point, you could do some independent shows, but I chose not to because I was like, well, I want to put all my focus on this, and we've done the UK thing up until about 2023, I think.
Yeah, what was it like working? Because obviously, I imagine, you know, Shawn Michaels, Happy Kid, such an iconic name, wrestling fans. What was it like? Because obviously I imagine you'd known him beforehand. What was it like working alongside him? Was it a bit, again, like the Kurt Angle thing, a bit surreal to be?
Yeah, like it was good. Like when we were with the UK brand, like me, Mark and Wolfie got flown over a couple of times to do like 2 weeks at the US PC, and we'd sit with Shawn Michaels and he would watch our matches, which he really felt a bond with the UK folk because he was in charge of that brand. Where when he was in the US, he was just in charge of the top guys. Like, he wasn't necessarily involved with TV and the production, so he kind of felt like an affinity with us, and like just to have him sit and watch our matches and just talk, like, was amazing. Like, we actually watched the match with Kurt Angle, and he was like, I can't believe you've went 20 minutes with Kurt Angle and he's put you over. Like, he didn't do that for me. So that was good. And then like in 2023, we were over there. Or sorry, 2022, I think it was, me, Mark and Wolfie were over there for 6 weeks, and they asked, like, would you guys like to move over? And like, of course. Yep. And that was the kind of stepping stone for moving to the States. Yeah,
and you mentioned that bond between your brother Mark, Wolfie. How important was that bond in NXT? Was it, you know?
It was good because, like, pro wrestling can be such an individual sport, career, entertainment. It was good to have like people to bounce ideas off of and that, but we had like people like that in our locker room, especially in the UK, because we all come up together, like a bunch of us. But it's good, like once you move over to the States and stuff, like it's good to have people that don't feel too alone and isolated from everything. And you know, our humour, being from Glasgow, is just, you know, I mean, it just over their head quite a lot of the time. So it's good to have that kind of, because my missus, she's American, and sometimes she just is like, what are you saying? Like, she's got onto it now, like she kind of got, but it's even like it's just the way we speak to each other.
Takes
like,
a wee while, doesn't it?
We'll just rip each other and slag each other, and like some of the Americans don't get it. Like, oh, these guys hate each other. And it's like, no, we actually really love each other. That's just our way of showing it.
It's just like a term of endearment, if you like.
Yeah.
And then NXT obviously was big. What was behind the scenes in terms of WWE, NXT? What are things that maybe people don't know behind the scenes? Is it brutal? Is it quite, you know, is it quite welcoming? What's it like?
I mean, like me being in the locker room, I try to be as welcome to everyone as, because I've been in locker rooms with people who are just really negative and probably not the nicest of people. So like even like with the guys coming in from NXT, they're not necessarily from our world, and they're from sporting backgrounds. Like they signed a lot of Division 1 college football players, you know, people maybe who went to the Olympics who've got nowhere to go. But you're going to be working with these people, so why would you just like push them to the side? And they were like, everyone was a great bunch, you know what I mean? I get on with everyone, and I would rather that. Behind the scenes though, there's a lot that goes into it. Like we were training like 4 times a day. Like it was I felt like a proper professional athlete when I was there. And like you wake up in the morning, like me and Mark would go to the gym, do like fasted cardio, because at the end of the day there's a lot of athletic stuff that goes into it, but you still need to be looking decent. So you're taking elements from kind of like athletic training, bodybuilding, you know, like martial arts training and fight style training, and try to just amalgamate it and incorporate it. So we'd wake up, do fasted cardio, you'd be in the performance centre, you would do like 2 hours of in-ring training, and I really loved it. Like there was a coach, and again a WWE, a wrestling legend, Fit Finlay, who we were in his class for a while, and it was cardio based, man, but I was shredded at the time. Like I'm sitting about, I don't know what it is in stone, I've been so used to pounds now, but I'm sitting about 240 pounds. Then I was 203, I got down to 203, absolutely shredded. So you're in peak condition, and then you would go on, you would do like an hour strength and conditioning, And then once you're done there, you might have like a promo class or like Skull, which is like match review. And then me and Mark would go to the gym again and do our own kind of session. So there's a lot that goes into it, and you know, it's very, very physical, and not even the physical side of things, it can be mentally draining as well, because especially like for us, we were over there for 2 years and we felt we should be progressing to maybe like Raw and Smackdown, and it can get a bit mentally taxing. Then you're just kind of waiting and you're like, I think we're good to go, but unfortunately it's not up to you. So.
Yeah, and how does that work then? Because obviously, as you said, WWE as a whole, it's got different kind of things on Raw, SmackDown. Was your aspiration to go on them to the was this? Yeah,
like, and we'd heard a lot that this time and that, but it never came, you know. And unfortunately, that's just the nature of the business. Like, sometimes there's not a space for you. Again, it's not essentially performance based. It can be if there's a storyline or if there's something that you can, you know, maybe wangle yourself into, but that's just the nature of the business at times.
Yeah, and working alongside those big names that you mentioned, you know, what stood out to you in terms of, you know, their work ethic, things that the way they're working? So obviously you wouldn't have seen that growing up, but then going behind the scenes and seeing how they actually work, what really stood out to you? Any lessons that stuck from them? Just
how people carry themselves, you know what I mean? Like, even like, we were backstage at an Orlando Smackdown, and Roman Reigns walked by us, and Roman Reigns, he's like a star. And just like, he's got an aura about him, like, and just like, I was just watching him, I was like, that's how to carry yourself, is like, I think. And then there's Cody Rhodes, who's like the face of WWE just now. He's always in a suit, always looking good. And it's just how to carry yourself as a proper professional, and the way you treat people and the way you speak to people. Like, I've got no time for people who have got egos, and that was a thing. No matter how much experience we had, I'd always try to leave my ego at the door a little bit and not flex on people like who maybe weren't in this for as long and tell them what to do. I was like, what ideas do you have? You know what I mean? And we'll try incorporate it together. And just to, like, again, individual v sport, but to kind of play as a team. And that's something I'll always give NXT UK credit for. We pulled together as a team because everyone had their place in the card. Yep. No matter if it was opening match or main event, you kind of have to work together to what is required of you.
Yeah. In terms of, you know, there's a big pressure that comes with being a professional wrestler. What were the moments like? How did you handle them? Did you feel that sometimes it got too much, or did you feel like you were kind of built for it?
No, I feel as if I was kind of built for it. I don't really think of it, like, you're nervous maybe, but like, I didn't get nervous. I was just more excited. I was like, I just want to go out and do this now, because TV days can be very long. You get to the building at 12 o'clock. You might not be on till 9 o'clock, so there's a lot of waiting about. You might have like pre-tape interviews before that. There's a lot of waiting about, and I would probably be too high on caffeine, you know what I mean? It's just, because there's catering there and there's coffee, and I'm just constantly pulling coffees, and I'm like, I'm going to crash at some point. And generally the moment I crashed is when I made my entrance and like done that. I was like, oh Christ, here we go. But there's different types of pressure. Like, as I said, like, for a TV match, there's a lot that goes into it, because you need to be very good at timing. Like, I'll give an example. Like, see, when I'm on a treadmill and I'm doing like an hour, I know exactly how long I've done because of how to time things out. Like, I'll do an hour and I'll think, it feels like 40 minutes, but I know it's 18 minutes, and I'll go like that, and it's like 17:26. Oh, Christ, you know what I mean? So, with that, like, if me and you are wrestling on TV, you'll have a producer, and they'll have like key moments in the match. It's up to us what we want to do, but you'll have like maybe 5 minutes up front, so that includes 2 entrances. So you get a minute for an entrance, I get a minute for an entrance, and then we get 3 minutes to do something. But it needs to end in something exciting, because then we're going to a break, like a commercial break, which could be 3 minutes to 3 minutes 30. But you still need to be active. You can't just down tools and go, we'll just wait for the cue to come back. So you need to be busy, and then you need to have like a spot to come back from break. So it kind of needs to be exciting. And then you might have like 5 minutes at the end, which is 3 minutes wrestling, maybe a minute for replays, and then a minute for any other business, like if there's any other storyline points. So you're constantly thinking throughout the whole time, and you only get one shot at it as well. It's not as if you can it's not like a movie where you can retake and go, I'll just do that again. You know,
you need to
everything.
be so switched on, mentally and physically, to be fair, to react and obviously go on what's happening. And obviously, you must need to have a certain level of connection with that other person then to work with them, because that's what you're doing, aren't you? You're working alongside. It's like working as two actors, like working together to produce the best show they can.
There just has to be an element of trust there. You know what I mean? You have to trust that your opponent, or the person that you're working with, is going to be there for certain things, you know what I mean, that are not going to... I mean, I've had it, like, we've all been in there where you've forgot stuff and you're like, what's next? You know, like, not so much these days, because I'm quite good at, you know, memory retention and even just feel from what we're doing, but you'll have people who are like, oh, what's next? Oh, don't worry, just relax, you know what I mean? I think it's, you need to be, like, not amped up, but have a level of, like, urgency, but to be calm under that pressure as well.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the names you worked with there. Was there any other big names that you you worked alongside that really stood out to you?
There was a coach, Terry Taylor, who, you know, he's been around the business for years and years, worked with WWF and WCW and stuff, and when we were in his class, it was a lot better for, let's break things down. Why do you do this? You know, what is it you're trying to achieve here? Especially when we do match review, like, he was the best for that. Like, I learned a lot from him, even just to tap into, like, what you do as a babyface, which is a good guy, what you do as a villain, the bad guy, and just things like that. And it was just the smaller, finer details. So he was really good to work with. And there's a coach out there, Robbie Brookside, who's from Liverpool, who we've known for years before he went to WWE to do coaching. Like, he had a hand in our training, and just to sit and pick his brains. Like, he'll hate this because he's an Everton fan, but, like, he was like he felt like a Jurgen Klopp of, like, pro wrestling. Like, he was really good, and his man management was good. And there's a lot of similarities, I feel, from, like, football to pro wrestling, like, especially when it comes to the management side of things and how they deal with people. And that was really good for us. Wrestler wise, like, I worked with Drew McIntyre a few times before he went back to WWE, and he's always been, like, I wouldn't say a role model, but he's an inspiration to, like, Scottish wrestlers. Like, although none of us look like him, you know what I mean? He looks like he's fallen off the porridge box, you know what I mean? The Scottish porridge box, but, like, and that's what they see as Scottish. But, like, just to watch his path, and you know, I still speak to him and get bits of advice and stuff like that. And we did hear that we might be doing something with him. Unfortunately, it never came to fruition, but, you know, you can never say never. So
100%. You can never say never. And in terms of obviously those coaches you work with, people you've worked with, what's the toughest criticism you've ever received, and how did it change you? Because obviously I can imagine you've had a lot of feedback in your career so far, but what was the toughest bit of criticism you received?
I think sometimes because I'll never phone it in, like, I always go out and try to do it as if it's your last match, like, put that effort in. It's like, sometimes when I come back through the curtain and you'll have the producers there and they're like, did you have a night off or something? I was like, no. And I'm like, you're a bit sluggish out there. Like, stuff like that really irritates me, because I'm quite focused on conditioning and urgency. So, like, things like that. But having that critique then just makes me go back to the drawing board and go, right, well, I need to work a wee bit harder and, you know, humble yourself and just go, well, if they didn't like it, they didn't like it. But wrestling's very subjective, so one person might say that, the other person, oh, you were great out there tonight, you know. So it's just try to take what you can from that and just make yourself a little bit better from it.
Yeah, and in terms of you, obviously your progression's been massive from those, you know, those shows, you know, Bella Houston, now to, like, these big massive shows across the country. It's obviously really inspirational, and I'm sure a lot of people will be inspired to you really chase your dreams. What's next for you? What's the next steps? Because I believe you're not in WWE just now.
Unfortunately, got released in May, but there's a lot of complications that comes with that, because being an international talent, you need a new visa. The visa goes with that. So I've been kind of going through that process just now, which is finally approved. Just need to pick my passport up, and I'll probably head back to the States maybe in a week or two. And I'll probably get back. I've got an agent out there now, so get back to doing stuff independently. There are other companies out there, like AEW in America. There's Japanese companies who I'd love to get a shot at again. So it's just kind of figuring it out. I've just kind of taken a step back to, you know, like pull the arrow back to fire it forward. Essentially, you know, I've still been keeping in good shape, still training every day. It's more the mental aspect of that, especially because I'm away from my missus. She's out there. Even coming back home is strange at times because I feel as if Glasgow's always home, but I don't live here anymore. You know, so it's like there's a lot of mental aspects when it comes to it. And as I said, I don't like sitting still, and I've not been wrestling as much as I should. You know, this is probably the longest period of my life and longest working period since I was 16. Because even at school, I had a job and stuff like that. When I was at uni, I had a job. And then being a pro wrestler, this is the longest, including COVID, that I've not worked in 16 years. And that gets a bit frustrating because I would be in the ring every single night if I could. And one of the things in WWE, you're not in the ring every single night. Like, they have maybe 2 live events at the weekend, 1 TV. And we went into the office to Shawn Michaels and went, can we be working more? Like, just put us on everything. But it just doesn't work like that because it's a TV show and, you know, they have certain aspects. So for me, I just want to get back to being busy and just kind of rebuilding my brand again and just figure it out, and hopefully something will come from that.
Do you get a lot of people messaging you, asking what's next and where you're going and when we're next going to see you? And
yeah, like I've got a couple of shows booked. It's end of November and December here. I'm going to come back to ICW and do their big show. It's just hard just now because you get that message and I'm kind of, not that I'm not doing anything, but I'm like, there's a lot of complications just now. And
people don't see all this stuff, obviously, you're telling us about, but people don't know that, do you know what I mean? And even thinking about younger wrestlers in Scotland, you know, people, you've obviously been through that process, and some people might look at yourself and think, as you did, like, I can do that. Like, I can do that, and that's obviously what you are trying to instill in people.
The good thing for us coming back, like, especially me and my brother and stuff, like my brother's now taking a hand in some of the training of some of the guys, and we've got a lot of experience to pass on, what to do, what not to do, you know, what we see as what professional wrestling should be. Especially, like, we've got a high standard when it comes to training and when it comes to being in the ring. And then, like, even working with some of the younger guys, like there was a guy, Dylan Thorne, I was wrestling a few weeks back in the garage, and he said, like, it's like wrestling you is a step up, you know what I mean? It's good if we can put that onto other people, then it's going to make everyone raise their game. And, you know, ICW is there just now, but it could be so much more because it had the potential once upon a time. It's definitely still got that potential because people want to put the work in, and we just want to show people that if you graft enough, you know, good things will come. So it's just putting that mentality onto another generation of people. Yeah.
And I think it's actually really important that, because I don't think a lot of people do that nowadays. It's like everybody chases something, and obviously you're, you know, always chasing, always looking to improve, always looking for the next step. And I think that's really important for younger people to do as well. It's not just like get to a certain point and just really be happy sitting there. Like, keep climbing the ladder, keep climbing the mountain. Like, there's more to it. Like, keep going. How far can you push yourself? And
one of the things, like, also, like, this year has been one of the most testing times of my life. There are days, like, and I think I'd be wrong in not saying this, there's days where I'm like, why am I knocking my pan in? I want to quit. But you can't, you know what I mean? And I think one of the things I heard, like, was a guy, a wrestler, Carl Anderson, had said, like, have you any advice, like, for someone who's really trying to get in? He's like, don't quit. And I think I'm at this stage of my life, I'm not going to quit, you know what I mean? This is what I've set out to do my entire life, so I'm going to keep doing it. But you have days that are more testing than others, because, like, even when I'm training, it's intense and it's sore and it's tough, but you're like, why am I doing this? But you have to have it in the back of your mind, and in there's a reason why you're doing this, you know, and it's, would you rather be doing anything else? So probably not.
Do you ever think back to that time in your uni and just been like, I'm thinking back to it and thinking, that's why I'm going to keep doing this?
Yeah, like, there's times when I go, well, there was a time when you wish you had this, you know what I mean? And, like, even, like, with WWE and the schedule that comes with that, I loved it. Like, especially, like, we would sometimes go up to Raw and Smackdown, and we do, like, they do a show called Main Event that's before that, and we do that a couple of times. And, like, I love this. Like, this is what it's all about, travelling, being on the road. And stuff like that. Like I just don't like staying in the one place for too long. You know what I mean? Like it's nice to be home, like whether that's here or Orlando, but I like to be out and about doing stuff, because otherwise that starts to go and it starts to wind, and it's just like, nah, just get up and do something.
What's the fans like when you're wrestling? Obviously, you say younger people probably they do look up to you. What's the fans like when you're obviously at events or outside of events? Do you get people coming up to you?
Yeah, like you get people coming up to you, especially like.
Do you get some mental fans?
I'm pretty sure my brother had a stalker for a while. Like and was getting stuff sent to him. It was like, who's sending me this? But it was like not like malicious stuff. It was like baseball jerseys and stuff. And it's like, great. You know what I mean? But you get people coming up and speaking to you, and I'll always get time. Yep. Like I've seen it too much where superstars like just brush people off, and I get it. Like they're on a time limit as well, a time budget, and they've got stuff to do and stuff. But if someone is supporting you, then I'll always have time to talk. Like I was in a gym. In fact, it was over in Limwood actually. It was Muscle Lab, and there was a boy come up to me, "Are you Joe Coffey?" And I went, "Aye." And he was just, I sat and spoke to him for 10 minutes. You know, it's like having that shows a personal connection between people, and I'm quite a people person. I always like talking to people, and especially if they support you, and just show a little bit back. Humility,
isn't it? It's just like not being just too up your own arse. Do you know what I mean? Like I think it's important when you're especially with yourself, you know, in the public. It's like, you know, if you're seen as this guy, it just like doesn't speak to people. Just saying hi to somebody, like you know, I get it quite a lot. I walk by people, you'll say hi, and they won't even say hi back, and I'm like, I don't even know you, but I'm just saying it's hi. I find it, you know, when you go to the park.
Yeah.
I always say like, all right, I don't know about that thing you walking the dog. You're like, all right,
especially someone's got another dog or
just
something.
All right, and then they don't say back to you. I'm like, all right, cool, no worries.
But I think that's also being from Glasgow. Been around the world, and I see that like, just sometimes the American mentality is like pure main character syndrome, and everyone else is an NPC. You know what I mean? Like you're not important in my story, but it's just like, nah. I think you sometimes need to take a step back and just go like, just talk to everyone. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with just showing a bit of humility, or you know, just how's your day? You know.
I honestly can agree more. In terms of you spoke about that, kind of looking back, what was the single moment that defined you? Or was there a couple of moments in unison?
Probably sitting at a university lecture, and I was like, I'm not conforming to what is expected. I want to do what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, and I just went to uni because I had good grades at school. Like I remember studying for my hires. It was the hardest I'd ever studied. Pardon me. And I was like, great, got good grades, and then got like the unconditionals for uni, and I was like, great, but had no like emotional attachment to it. I was just doing it because that was the done thing. You know what I mean? It's what's expected at some stage. And I was just like, nah, this is not for me, man. Like it's just school again. You know what I mean? And like even like we're talking about off camera there about the schooling system, like it doesn't make you think. I like to think. I like to, you know, do something more than just like sitting at a desk or sitting in an office. Nothing wrong with it at all, but it's just not for me. You know?
Yeah, and just to finish off, on yourself, you gave so much advice through this, obviously, conversation we've had. If you had to give that final bit of advice to someone that was looking to change their life, someone maybe young that watches wrestling and thinks, I want to do that, what's your advice to them?
Go with your heart, but have a think about it as well, and just don't give up, because there's always an opportunity. You never know what's round the corner. You know, there would be times where I thought like, I'm never going to get to WWE or something like that, and then it just happens. Like, it's just make sure you're willing to put everything into it, put the graft in. Don't be lazy about things, don't cut corners, and do things the right way, and hopefully good things will come from that.
Love that, mate. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming in and chatting to me. It's an absolute pleasure. You'd think we'd never met before.
Yeah.
Listen, mate, thank you so much.
Cheers, bro.
Some man.